You know, I'm still wearing this goddamn pin. Years later, 2.5 years later. It's been in my skin for a while. It's very painful. Can someone please get it out, please? The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 is the continuation of the Hunger Games franchise. It is part 1 of the last book in the series, because they decided to split it up, because that's what you do with young adult novels nowadays. You have to split up the last part into 2 parts for more money. But the story basically revolves around Katniss, of course, and now she is becoming the symbol for this rebellion that is finally coming up over the capital, and how she deals with that, and how she isn't necessarily ready for it. You also have Peeta playing a big part in the story, and I don't want to say exactly what's going on with him because I could also spoil Catching Fire, and I don't want to do that in case someone hasn't seen it. We're getting into the thick of the rebellion, and that's basically the story. I don't want to give away too much, but going into this movie I was very excited. I thought the trailers were great. I actually haven't seen too many trailers for it. Like, usually I'll just see a bunch of trailers all over TV and I'll see all of the theatrical ones, but this one I only saw like 2 theatrical trailers and a couple TV spots, so I didn't really know much going into this movie, even though I have read the book, so I knew it was gonna happen. I just didn't know much visually. I will say, I wasn't excited for this as I was for Catching Fire, because Catching Fire was my favorite book of the entire series, and this is my least favorite book. I don't dislike Mockingjay, but it's just not as good as the other ones. And that was my worry going into the movie, was the fact that Mockingjay is being split into 2 parts, and it's the weakest book in the series. It's like, do they have enough to carry 2 movies? And for the most part, I think they do. I don't think that completely, but I think they do for the most part. And I'll get to that in a bit, but first of all, Jennifer Lawrence is the anchor in these movies. She plays Katniss, and she does a great job in this movie yet again. Because in this movie, she has to really... she's thrown into this role where she is the symbol, she's the Mockingjay for the rebellion, and she isn't really cut out for that at the start of the movie, and the way that she develops into the character that she has to be is really interesting to watch, and you can see her struggle with it, and she just does a great job in the movie. All the people you've seen before are great in the movie, like Woody Harrelson, Donald Sutherland does a great job again, Philip Seymour Hoffman, you know, a lot of people that you've seen before in the movies, like, they basically do just as good. Josh Hutcherson as Peeta. In this movie, his character takes a very different turn from what you've seen from him in the first 2 movies, and I thought he portrayed it really well in this movie. I really liked the way Peeta just had this complete 180 in his character, and he just did a great job, I thought. Julianne Moore did a good job as Coin in the movie. There are a few other newcomers I'm forgetting here. Oh, also Finnick in the movie. Sam Claflin, who plays Finnick in the movie, I thought he did a really good job in this movie too. He doesn't have a whole lot of screen time, however, the one scene that people are going to talk about with him, I think he did such a great job in, and I really loved him in that scene. Moving on from the acting, which I thought was really good all around in this movie. This movie, it takes a different turn from the other Hunger Games movies in that there's no games in this movie. It's just a full-on rebellion. So it's going to be a different type of structure in this movie, which I was fine with. However, at times I thought the movie just dragged, and I felt like it was being too long for the amount of material it had. Mockingjay in itself is the weakest of the 3 books, and it has the least to draw on, I think, of all 3 books. So there's not a whole lot that can pull from it and, like, stretch out. It doesn't work that way. So a couple times I felt like it was dragging along a bit. However, most of the time I thought it worked really well with the pacing. There's a lot of slow moments. There's not as much action. Like in the other movies, you'd have a lot of action like the last third of the movie, or even like the last half, really. But in this movie, there's not as much action because it's a lot more of like talking about the rebellion and, you know, what's gonna happen and who's gonna do this and that. And you also see some of the point of view of the Capitol, so that was cool. The action in the movie, when it is there, I thought was really intense and really well done. The action just looks great on screen. Every Hunger Games movie, I think, has gotten better and better looking action, so this one just is really great. There's some undertones in there that you could relate to certain things going on nowadays. I just don't want to spoil anything, so that's why I'm not saying too much, but like, you can recognize it. It's not really that deep, I don't think, but it's like, they kind of explore it a little bit. And I thought the way the movie ended was really good. It left you on a pretty nice cliffhanger, and it was the exact one I thought was gonna happen. Like, I've been talking to some people about what I thought the movie was gonna end on. I was like, it's gonna end on this moment, and I was right. So, when you see the movie, you'll know I was right. My main problem with the movie, aside from the fact that I thought it dragged a few times, was the fact that it just does kind of feel like a part one. Like, oh, there's gonna be more. It's like, just wait for part two and this is gonna happen. So I feel like the movie, I will like it more if I watch it back to back with Mockingjay Part 2 as well, like, cause it'll be one complete movie. So, as of right now, that kind of bugged me a little bit, but I know that there's gonna be a Part 2, so if you put them together, it'll probably feel more complete. So overall, Mockingjay Part 1 I thought was a really nice setup for the final movie, which will come out next year. I thought the acting was really good, it's really intense, the action is great, it drags a few times, and yeah, it does feel like a setup movie, but overall I think if you've enjoyed the movie so far, you'll really enjoy this one too. I'm gonna give it a B+. I would recommend you going to check it out this weekend if you enjoyed the movie so far. So, what'd you guys think of Mockingjay Part 1? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? What was your favorite book of the series? Most people probably say Catching Fire, but you never know. Write your beautiful comments down there and tell me what you think, and if you like this video, hit that subscribe button down there, because if you don't, I'll shoot futuristic robotic things out of the sky with a bow and arrow.